Hi, Romans here and welcome to another music review. Today it's going to be Rammstein, Zeit.
Music review. Music review.
Rammstein's comeback 3 years ago with the Untitled album was quite possibly the biggest comeback I've ever experienced. Deutschland and Radio, the singles from that album, were pretty unescapable. They're basically perfect songs and they're just amazing songs. And you know, in like March and April 2019, that was basically the #1 theme. Everybody was just talking about Rammstein. A lot of my students, while being far away from being metalheads, they were all aware of Rammstein and of their 2 new singles. Also, this was back in the old world, you know, before COVID. We were still almost like a year before COVID hit us. And also I got married, you know, in that time, so a lot of memories. Also, I kind of remember, but I may be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong and leave me a comment, but I think that they promoted the Untitled album as being their last album, that they were gonna have a tour and wrap it up and Rammstein would be over. I think that their tour was probably cut short because of the COVID. I think that they started it actually, and when they found themselves in the lockdown they had some time, so actually that's when they wrote Zeit. The album came out a couple of days ago. I've heard it 6 times as of now. If there are no audio samples in this review, which is kind of a trademark of my reviews, it's because Rammstein are a bit weird when it comes to the copyright. I made a reaction to Zigzag, the video was blocked. Even the review for the Untitled album, you know, I had the audio samples from every track, like 15 seconds, and the video was blocked, you know, I had to delete most of them, and the editing is quite time heavy when it comes to including the audio samples. I just don't want to risk spending all that time and then having to delete them. So the album opens up with Army der Tristen, and excuse my German if it's not perfect, but that's because I can't really speak German. It's a very epic and dark opener that, in terms of the atmosphere, reminds me of the soundtrack for Commandos 2, which is one of the best games, one of the best soundtracks. It's an action strategy game where you kill a bunch of Germans. There are also nice synths. It's a very good opener. Then we've got the actual title track called Zeit, which starts on the piano. It's a very somber, kind of very intimate track. It gets a bit louder, but again, this is not a very in-your-face metal song. To some degree, it reminds me of Ohne Dich. And then we go to the 3rd track, Schwartz, which yet again is a pretty laid-back track. I do have to say it's very strange that these first 3 tracks open the record because they're all kind of slow, kind of not heavy, you know, and even my friend who's a huge fan of Rammstein, it's probably his favorite band, he doesn't like this album. He told me like, oh, I almost fell asleep with the first couple of tracks. I can't help it though, but every time I hear Schwartz, the chorus, I immediately remember the track We Are from Anna Johnson. That was the soundtrack for Spider-Man 2. What about the world today? What about the place that we call home? And just every time I hear that chorus, I hear that melody. The piano midsection is nice, but it isn't really until Giftig that the album really kicks off. And Giftig is probably my favorite track of the album. I really love the Prince of Persia vibe. It's very oriental. There are some electronics, heavy guitars. It's an awesome song. The auto-tuned vocals towards the end are kind of a strange addition, and this is not the only time we're gonna hear them on the album. Then we've got Zigzag, the 2nd single of the album, and the verses, the kind of a acoustic vibe of the verses reminds me of the track Loss from their Reise album. And Loss was a traditional heavy Rammstein track but made acoustically, which made it really stand out. I got that vibe in the verses. The chorus doesn't arrive the first time you expect it, you kind of have to wait for it, and it's kind of in the style of Ich tu dir weh, you know, kind of like that commercial chorus, but it's a good song. Then we've got OK, which is a shortcut for Ohne Kondom. We've got a choir here, which is pretty cool. This is a traditional Rammstein song. It's a bit safe, but still pretty good. Meine Tränen is a dark power ballad where the chorus kind of resembles Sonne. Probably my 2nd favorite track off of the album is actually the 3rd single, Angst, which is an awesome song. We've got great guitars. Those rhythms are fresh but still very familiar in terms of the Rammstein. You know, there are some awesome sounds. I really dig this track. And also the music video, just like all of their music videos, the imagery is so artistic, so poetic, so stunning. Before we continue, just a little reminder, I make these reviews from a viewpoint of a musician, as I'm a singer, songwriter and a bass player for my own group Jakobe. Heavy prog rock without guitars but with saxophone. You're gonna wanna check it out. All of the links to my debut album are in the description of this video below. The 2nd album will drop this year. Then we've got Dikka Titan, which can be translated as Fat Tits. Of course, it's such a Rammstein title for a track. It kind of starts like a main theme for Mickey Mouse, you know, with all those like horns and kind of an untraditional instrumentation. To some degree, it reminds me of one of my favorite tracks from them, Te Quiero Puta, where they kind of combine their traditional industrial metal with like Spanish folk music, and it works perfectly. So it's kind of like that here, but the actual chorus reminds me more of like Ausländer from their previous album, which is kind of almost like EDM track, like party pop song you play in a club. Big contrast, and I still don't know how I feel about it. It makes for an interesting listen, but I would prefer if the track would go either one or the other way. Another slower track is Lugen. It has a very dramatic chorus, and again the auto-tune vocals are a bit strange. I mean, they make the song stand out, but on the other hand, it's like there's this parallel universe where Rammstein are using autotune. That's kind of how it feels. I know that they always use the electronics, that's kind of industrial metal, you know, combining really heavy guitar riffs with electronics, but still, I am not a big fan of autotune in general. I just don't like that sound. And hearing Till having autotune on his vocals is interesting. I don't really like it. The final track, Adios, starts totally like Prince of Persia Warrior Within. If you listen to that soundtrack, again, one of the best soundtracks of all time. I really dig the oriental mood and the vibe, but then the chorus, which is a bit more on the predictable and cheesy side, kind of breaks the mood. And if you watch my reviews, you know that I really don't like it when a song hints at a certain atmosphere, it's kind of building up towards it, and then suddenly there's a part that's totally unrelated to that whatsoever. As a songwriter, I would just not want to do that, you know, and as a listener, I don't want to listen to it. Okay, to sum up, you know, whenever Rammstein release a record, it's kind of an event of the year. I think that there's still enough meat on this album to enjoy it. Rammstein, you know, if you really break it down, they're basically a commercial pop band. They're kind of like AC/DC, you know, you kind of know what to get. There are, however, quite a few surprises on this album, especially like the way they decided to open the record with the first 3 tracks. Also, some of the other place moments. There's quite enough stuff to enjoy, so what more do we want? Have you heard this album already? If you have, you can let me know in the comment section below whether you agreed or disagreed with me. If you are a Rammstein fan, definitely let me know which is your favorite record and how well do you think this one compares to their previous records, maybe especially to their previous Untitled album. All of the links where you can follow me are in the description of this video below, along with the link to my Spotify playlist, which I'm updating every 2 weeks, and I think you're gonna find a lot of great music there, so be sure to check it out. Also, if you like this review, don't forget to like, to share, to subscribe. Check out my own original music, my live performances, my pretty popular Worst to Best series, and quite a lot of other videos, reactions and whatnot as well. Thanks a lot for watching.